Dr. Mary Finley Brooke with her demonstration.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Basil Gooden. Grew up less than a mile away from where we are currently. We still have a cattle farm. I want to thank everybody, one, for being here, but I want to thank you for what you're doing for our community, for your hard work, for your commitment. There are a couple of things that I wanted to say. I know many of you think that I've been working totally against what you are trying to accomplish. And I want you to know that it has always been my objective and the objective of my efforts to actually work with the community and to help protect the community if a pipeline and a compressor station comes through my community. No one, I think, around here wants a pipeline. I don't think anybody wants a compressor station down the road. It has just always been my belief that if it were to come, the community needs protected. I want to thank you all again for what you do, because there are so many people that are here. I mean, you have outspoken people that I've known all my life, relatives, John, Laury, Ruby Laury, they're my cousins. I mean, and Marie Gillespie, I mean, she helped raise me. Ada Washington, who I don't see here today, but Ada Washington, and actually Ricky's aunt, Ada Washington's sister, she has a sister named Nettie Harper. Ricky used to come down and stay with Nettie and Sherman Harper when he was a kid. Nettie Harper.
They know me as Richard, Basil.
No, Richard. Oh, I'm sorry, Richard.
Ricky now.
I'm sorry, Richard. Oh, okay. Well, we knew him way back when, so I'm sorry, Mr. Richard Walker. Yeah. His aunt and uncle, single-handedly, when I was a kid, when I was about 5 or 6, she single-handedly prevented my grandmother's house from burning down. She ran down the road and put out a fire that was happening at her house. She has a store. Shelter Store Road is named after my grandmother and my grandfather. So Ricky's aunt came down and put a fire out that nobody knew that was happening at my grandmother's house. So we're a community here. We look out for one another. We try to help one another. We're not here to tear people down. We're not here to hurt people or anything of that nature. All I want to actually say is what has been going on in the community, I think, has been ill represented in the media, because I have nothing but love for what you're doing, have nothing but love for Ricky, and those who may actually say some things, and Ricky, you never really hurt my feelings. I mean, again, nobody hurt my feelings. But here's the thing, hopefully that we can get on the same team and move forward however this thing turns out. If there's no pipeline and no compressor station, that's perfectly fine. That's fine. And that's what, again, you're going for. That's perfectly fine. At the end of the day, we will all still be community. I'll have the same love for the same people, like Mr. Harold Wood and Ms. Wood and all the people, Kathy Mosley, all the folks that have been a part of our lives in our community for so long. We will still have that same love. We will join hands. We will continue to support one another. It's nothing that I won't do for anybody. I mean, again, Mr. John Laury, we talk about raising cattle. We hadn't talked in a little while, but again, if it wasn't for his brilliance, you know, again, so again, we're here as a community. We're not in opposition. If there's anything that I can do for any of you all, please let me know. That's always been my philosophy. Again, we may be on opposite sides, maybe, again, but I do think that we're closer in nature, I mean, in some of our beliefs than we are opposed. It's always been my belief, whoever your opponent, whether it's a Democrat, Republican, whether it's somebody in the food industry, I work in the food industry. There's a lot of infighting in the food industry. So I never saw anybody that had a different idea or a different position than me. They may have been an opponent, but they're not my enemy. I'm not your enemy, you're not my enemy. I've never viewed anybody as an enemy. We're here as a community, and we will continue to be a community. All great movements always had people on one side. I mean, clearly, even civil rights movement, clearly people who are really, really radical and wanted to do things and do things differently. But you had also people on this end of the spectrum that were saying, how can we sit down? How can we talk about some things of that nature? They were all in the same movement. We're all a family. We're all a community. We all here together. Again, if there's anything that I can do for any of you, please don't hesitate to call me, Ricky. Again, the Swami knows how to get in contact with me. And again, thank you for your report. Thank you for what you do. Because again, without you, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't be having this conversation. And I'll close with this story that I really tell when I go around the state, go around the United States to talk, to give talks around agriculture. My wife and I live in Henrico. Our farm is up here in Buckingham. I'm up here about 3 or 4 times a week. About 2 or 3 years ago, our next door neighbors moved, okay, from Henrico. I've known these people for about 15 years. We've lived in that community 15 years. They moved. We got a new family in. New family came in. I didn't know these people. I knew the old people. I liked the old people in the neighborhood. One day I came home from work, and as I was getting out the car, I heard someone just banging on the window at next door. Okay, at the house next door. Someone was just banging on the window. And I got out the car. It was a little girl. She was about, I think, about 3, 4 years old. And she was just, I looked over and she was just waving and just waving and waving. Those were the new neighbors. And I just waved and went into the house. The very next day, I came home from work. Same thing. She was just banging on the window trying to get my attention and waving and waving. And I just waved again. I mean, she was just so excited. I didn't know this little girl. I barely knew her parents. Again, I came to expect to see this little girl at the window knocking, and she did it almost every day like clockwork. She did it. And on the 3rd or 4th day, as I went to the house and this little girl was just waving and waving that I didn't know, it dawned on me. I think that's what life is all about. This little girl didn't know me, and I didn't know her. But all she wanted to do was to show herself neighborly and friendly to somebody that lived in her community next door. This is a young girl who is of a different race. She's of a different religion. Talking to her parents, we're of a different political party. None of that mattered to this little girl. All that mattered to her is she wanted to be a neighbor when she could be a neighbor. And that's what I think we all should do. We should all be a neighbor. Don't let anything get in between us, whether it's politics, whether it's positions. We're all neighbors. Let's act like a little girl sometime that's next door. And just, and show ourselves neighborly and friendly. That's all I want to do. And I'm sure that's what many of you want to do here. Again, thank you for this opportunity, Ricky. Anything that I can ever do for you or your team or anybody, please don't hesitate to let me know.
All right, we want to have a cookout on your land next week.
Oh, there you go. We can have some nice steaks. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Also, a long-term legend or lived in this community, families has history like mine from slavery, Mr. Laury. John Laury.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here and glad to see everyone here today. This is a special gathering today because of what will take place next week. And also, we're here today to help bring this community back together. This community is not only Union Hill and this local area, this community is statewide. And I'm glad to see you, and I'm glad to be part of it. I was born and raised in this area. Spent many days walking the road there. Many days attending the church here in Union Grove. Many days in the woods, breathing this clean air, drinking this clean water, and picking the berries and the natural fruits from the other generation had many fruit trees, and just enjoying land and these rolling hills and the neighbors. It's beautiful countryside. But I had to leave for a while because of the military, and then I had to do what men do. I had to go out on my own. And then I had to return because I still miss this countryside, the full season. And after returning, I decided to farm some. As Basil said, and his family have a cattle farm, I decided to do the same, raise some cattle. That seemed like the majority of the farms around here were raising cattle. Didn't seem like they were doing much work. Cattle out there grazing on their own. Not much work involved. And so I decided to follow suit. But that's not true. The cattle like to eat 24/7, and that requires work. But at the same time, I just enjoy people. I enjoy God's creation. And that do include Mother Earth. And that includes all that come with Mother Earth. And my duty is to help protect Mother Earth. And I don't mind, and I enjoy doing that. And I'm thankful today for all that we have here, and for all of you who attended here today, and for those who have put much effort in this gathering today. And I don't want to get into too many details and call names because I may miss some. But those of you know what you have contributed to this community, and all of the coalitions who have come together, and what our struggle is about, and I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.